right. So welcome, Tanya. We've received a fantastically positive response to our leaders interview series over the last year or so, where senior leaders and subject matter experts share their expertise and knowledge on the cooperative model. So welcome along to this July session of the leaders interview series. And Tanya, so you joined Farmlands as Chief Executive in 2021. What was it that attracted you to the cooperative model?
Well, kia ora, and thanks for having me along. When I returned from Australia, actually, having worked over there for quite some time, one of the things I wanted to achieve in the next role that I had in New Zealand was being able to be in a position of really being able to impact New Zealand and think about what it is that New Zealand might need, not just now, but into the future. And at the time, I hadn't really considered the ag sector. Obviously, as the major contributor to our export earnings, though, it's probably a logical place to end up in New Zealand. So I was really fortunate when I was approached about Farmlands. And then in terms of thinking about the cooperative model, what I absolutely love is that our job to do is to focus on getting the best outcome for our shareholders. And so while you could say that that is generally the objective of any organisation, no matter what sort of structure it's operating under, the difference in a co-op is for Farmlands, we've been really clear in defining our purpose, and our purpose is to improve on-farm profitability and productivity. So when you have that as your purpose and as a co-op, it means that everything we look at is about how are we actually delivering on-farm and improving profit on farm, making it easier for people to stay on farm, to make their business model work. And the co-op is uniquely positioned in being able to do that, because I think out of our entire competitive set, we would be the only ones nationally saying, across all land use types, saying our job to do is to get our farmers the cheapest inputs possible.
Yeah, that sounds like it's completely logical. And I guess so from a Farmlands perspective, it's an incredibly, I guess, enduring business, been around for quite a number of years. And so when Farmlands was formed, how do you see it perceived the benefits of being a cooperative were?
Well, it was formed as a buying group for New Zealand farmers and growers, and our the basis of that has not changed. So our job to do is to get the lowest priced inputs that we can onto farm, and as I said earlier, like improve profitability and productivity. So the different parts of our business and the different divisions and segments that we have, they're all designed for that. So whether it's card and you're a card, we work with our card partners, some of whom are other co-ops like Mitre 10, for example. We're actually looking to say, okay, how do we actually extend our buying group ability to access on-farm inputs for things that we don't provide, but our card partners are able to provide, and how do we bring those card partners both the rural market, but actually also ensure the deal we can take back to the rural market is really compelling. So all of the different divisions of our business are aligned with being able to do that, to focus on that farm profitability. So yeah, so it creates a unique opportunity to think about how we also have lowest cost to operate. Because I think in any co-op model, our responsibility is to have lowest cost to operate, lowest cost to serve. That means the profit that we do generate, we think really carefully about then how do we use that, both for the farmers of today, but also for the farmers of tomorrow. And that again has been a principal and foundation element of the co-op since it was established.
And I think, taking, as you've described, taking that longer term look helps balance out some of the peaks and troughs and what's going on from an economic perspective. And it's been a really tough time recently for the rural sector. And when you're thinking about the challenges that your members are facing, what are the top two priorities that Farmlands are kind of seeing and working on with respect to the environment that their members are in now?
Well, number one is price. There's nothing else but price. I mean, the more that we can create an efficient business model, that we invest our shareholders' funds wisely, and we streamline our ways of operating, and then have that result in reduced price on farm, that's 100% our focus. So that is the best way that we can support the sector. The other thing that we do obviously think about, though, is the future, and how do we ensure that we do invest in farmlands and the right assets and platforms and structures within Farmlands to be able to deliver on lowest cost to serve and therefore price on farm, but also, as I mentioned earlier, thinking to the future. So that's probably an example of where our investment in Seals Winslow has come in. So Seals Winslow, which many people will know the brand of, Farmlands obviously purchased that. We settled on that just about 2 months ago now. And, that was a very considered investment on behalf of our New Zealand farmers. So not only will it over time result in better pricing and our ability to control vertical pricing and vertical margin right through the nutrition stream, it also means that we're creating an environment where we're purchasing more input product off our farmers. So we're actually able to create, a virtuous circle where we're supplying seed and ag chem, we're purchasing the output and then turning that into higher value product. But it also means that we can build a wholesale business that will over time be a profit generator for the co-op and actually help us with our farm input prices across the spectrum as we build other profit streams into the co-op. It means that we can cover the cost of operating and just keep really focused on delivering price back on farm.
Mm. And the focus that you've had on keeping the costs low, I guess one of the challenges there is the balancing out of new technologies that you might need to invest in as a cooperative in order to help keep that future vision and make sure that you're staying on top of technological changes that are coming through to help your members. So what's Farmland's approach to sort of those new technologies that are coming through and how you make those investment decisions?
Well, I mean, as I said, we do have to be able to invest in the co-op and invest in us having the right platforms and thinking about the future. But a lot of that investment now, we're really fortunate that some time ago, well before I started, there was a decision made to put Microsoft Dynamics into Farmlands. And it was a really big investment at the time, a significant investment for the co-op. It was absolutely the right thing to do. What we're doing now is we're really leveraging that investment that has been made. So, for example, we've just launched Farmlands Pro, which is our new completely purpose-built app for New Zealand farmers and growers. So I'd encourage anyone who hasn't seen it, if you're a shareholder, jump in to the App Store or Google Store and download it. And so while we've had to invest in the development of that, because it's intellectual property made exclusively for us, it's actually leveraging off and using Dynamics sitting in underneath. So the cost to build it has been probably less than if we didn't have Dynamics. But most importantly, it's those digital channels that are actually enabling us to then streamline our ways of operating, become more efficient, but probably from a customer perspective, although that all sounds great, it actually makes us available 24/7. It's the reality is our farmers work every day of the week and they work 24 hours a day, particularly at particular times. And so we need to be available to them, to sit alongside them. And the way that we can do that is on here and being in their pocket, while it doesn't in any way take away from the face-to-face and the relationships that our technical field officers have on farm. And that will always be part of our business. We also know we need to be more convenient, more available, and do that in the most efficient way possible. Farmlands Pro enables us to not only be available in terms of placing orders, it's personalised with every individual shareholder pricing and product range in it. But actually it also is now enabling us to streamline our logistics and transportation in the back end. So we've just launched our first regional hub in Invercargill, and we expect to open 8 to 12 of those around the country. And what that's enabling us to do is to actually have better control of inventory, have better stock management, better delivery and logistics solutions in every region, which is enabling us to make better use of our working capital, reduce cost over time, and again enable us to be efficient and give that back to our farmers in pricing. So digital channels are a critical part of streamlining our operation in a way that will enable us to deliver on price. I think the key message I would say is that as a co-op, and for us as an input co-op, our job is to put tension in the market and put tension on price. And even if it just means our competitors have to drop their pricing to match us, that's a job well done for us. But what we do know is that we can bring more and more competitive pricing to our farmers and growers as we establish ourselves as a digital supply chain driven business with a front facing element to customer, but our focus has got to be on digital and supply chain, and the efficiency gains we will have there will have real benefit for our shareholders.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And I think thinking back to the May 2024 Leaders Forum that we had with Cooperative Business New Zealand, we had a panel discussion on how data structure might lead into the use of AI in the form of things like Microsoft Copilot, for example. And it was fascinating to hear you just talk about the benefits of the way that you're setting up in the back end and the efficiencies that you can get, because I guess it's not until you have that set up as an organization that you can actually then start to think about what would the power of a technology like Microsoft Copilot, what would that deliver to you, and then what could you then pass on to your members?
Yeah, so Copilot for us is more something we would use internally. But when you talk about AI or data enablement, that is coming through in here. So Farmlands Pro leverages Dynamics D365. We've got so much data on our customers. What we are already working on and testing is how we use data enablement in a way to drive more efficiency for farm. So there is so much data that we have. You're right, we need AI to actually help us leverage that and to actually turn it into action. And that's what we're working on right now. So how do we show our farmer shareholder what the next best action is for them with their relationship with farmland? So whether it's reminding them that there's a weather bomb coming and these are the things that they need to have on hand, or whether it's reminding them it's dairy shed setup. This is what you ordered last year. Here's a suggested order for you this year. There's so many ways that you're gonna see us, or our shareholders are going to see us using data-enabled technology, but all through Farmlands Pro, so that it's in one location, it's using their data, and most importantly, it's personalised and real to them. And it drives a huge amount of productivity. That's the other part of our purpose, but profitability and productivity. And that productivity for us isn't just on farm, it's also internally. So as AI helps us improve our productivity, we can do a much better job for our shareholders.
Yeah, fantastic. So I guess after talking about the future and data, going back now in time to some of the founding Rochdale principles of cooperatives, and one of those is cooperation amongst cooperatives. So what's your approach to working alongside fellow cooperatives at Farmlands?
Well, I'm a huge believer in collaboration and cooperation, and I think in the agri sector, there's opportunity for that to be done in a more effective way. We obviously have a number of deep relationships with other co-ops within the agri sector in particular, and we also have relationships. Again, I was like, Mitre 10 as an example, with cooperatives who are part of our card partner network. I think in agri in particular, there is more we can do. And I have some of those conversations with some of my counterparts and other cooperatives, and I look forward to seeing that actually come to fruition over time. Because the reality is, there's a lot of co-ops in agri, which also means there's actually probably a need not just for collaboration, but it probably a little bit more consolidation as well, because we're duplicating areas of our businesses, which actually increase cost. And when you think our shareholders are farmer growers, it's not really helping deliver on our purpose of profitability and productivity. So yeah, I think there's more co-ops can be doing to really focus on who their shareholder is and how they best align themselves to deliver for them.
Yeah, that makes sense, and follows also really well into the next question, which is any advice that you might have for newer cooperatives or entities that are thinking about becoming a cooperative around that shareholder engagement best practice and what it is that you do to really keep your shareholders engaged.
Well, shareholder engagement is quite challenging depending on the number of shareholders you have. Like we have over 82,000. So it's, shareholder engagement is a challenging thing. So like this last week, I was out on shareholders' properties for 3 days. And when you get to have one-on-one conversations with them, they're amazing. Trying to recreate that on scale is quite challenging. So for anyone new joining or thinking about setting up a co-op, I guess my key piece of advice would be have absolute clarity on your purpose. So that's something that I would say is Farmlands, we got a bit lost about what our absolute purpose was, and we've regained that clarity in the last sort of 12 months, like really regained it. And so now everything we do ladders back to our purpose. And with that, you can actually explain anything you're doing to your shareholders or to your team members or to your customers. They're not necessarily all the same people. So purpose is critical. Co-ops need to be clear about their purpose, why they were established, what they are here to do, and what that looks like, not just today, but into the future. Our shareholders rely on us to be here for the long term. And so we need to have ensure that our purpose enables us to also build really sustainable businesses. And just on that, I would say, don't be scared of profit as a co-op. We need enough profit to run our business and invest for the future. I guess what we've discovered at Farmlands is that we can create profit without it needing to come from our core customer shareholder group. So we look for other areas to create profit so that we can keep delivering back to that purpose on farm profitability and productivity.
Awesome. All right, well, that is a wrap up of my questions. Is there any final words that you might have before we wrap up the session completely?
I was reading a really interesting McKinsey article about co-ops the other day, actually, and it talked about a couple of key things about co-ops and how they need to stay relevant. And the two key pieces for me were you cannot be conservative, like you've got to innovate, you've got to be leaders in innovation, and I guess the integration of technology and AI is a really key part of that. And you've got to think about your funding models, because your funding model often for co-ops can become a real headache. So, like you need cash to do things. That's why I say don't be scared of profit, but know where it's going to come from. And you need to be innovative. Being a co-op is not a reason to have a poorly run business or be thinking conservatively or not have a real eye on the delivery for today and the delivery for tomorrow. So I think that's something we all need to be mindful of in co-ops. Yeah, having a co-op is not a reason to have a crappy business.
Yeah.
It's actually a reason to have an awesome business with great purpose.
Fantastic. That's an amazing way to end. Thank you very much, Tanya. Really appreciate your time this afternoon. And we will be sharing this webinar and this recording both here in New Zealand and also with some of our international partners. So again, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, ngā mihi nui. It's my pleasure.
Thanks, Tanya. See ya.
Thanks. See you later. Bye.